Well, it's 7:09. I guess we'll perhaps start at 7:10 and hope some others join us. There's a lot of great information, especially for 1 hour. Well, I've got 7:10. If we're going to be able to finish by around 8, we'll need to get rolling. Do you want to announce or introduce or share anything?
You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Gordon Holmes. I'm a special needs financial planner, and my team and I assist families throughout the state of Indiana and the state of Kentucky in the special needs community, address the legal, financial, and government benefit issues that accompany the special needs journey. I'm also the parent of a 27-year-old on the autism spectrum. And so my focus on special needs planning began some 25 years ago. I do a lot of education, speaking at national conferences, state conferences, parent support groups, groups like here at Lighthouse. And in addition to that, meet with families all day, every day, either in person at one of my 2 offices on the north side of Indianapolis and in Louisville, Kentucky, or virtually. This evening, I'm thankful in working with Lighthouse ABA schools that we are able to bring this program to you. This evening's program will include a review of both the legal, financial, and government benefit issues. So it's a robust agenda. I think the information will be helpful for everyone. So we have a PowerPoint up that I think is showing, and we'll get started with that. As a result of participating in this evening's workshop, either this evening or seeing a recording of it, we'll be pleased to extend to you a free follow-up consultation to assist in the focus on government benefits and estate planning, special needs planning, etc. The title of this evening's workshop is How Caregivers Can Secure the Future of Their Dependent with Special Needs. And it's the flagship workshop that includes a wealth of information, and I truly hope it proves helpful to those of you watching at this time. Disclosure, we're not all things to all people. We work hard to help thousands of families. We work with somewhere close to 3,000 families throughout Indiana and Kentucky. So the body of work is significant, and we probably do more of this work than any other firm out there. It is a big concern of how to keep all the plates spinning as we as parents get older, and wonder how all of the things that we're doing born out of love for our dependent with special needs will continue when something happens to us. So we help families wrangle with these issues, and in addition, maximizing on government benefit support opportunities. And we have a strategic alliance with a group of attorneys, special needs attorneys specifically, throughout Indiana and Kentucky, so that we're able to make referral where appropriate to obtain estate planning documents, special needs trusts, address guardianship issues, Social Security appeals, Medicaid administrative hearings, and in some cases, some IEP issues. So between my team and myself and the attorneys scattered about Indiana and Kentucky were truly able to comprehensively address legal, financial, and government benefit issues for families. What you see on the screen now are 3 questions, and these questions are designed to determine where you're at in your special needs journey and where you may be at in the special needs planning process. So we'll take these questions one at a time, talk about them. The first question is, have you left more than $2,000 to your dependent with special needs in your will or your trust? We know our kids with special needs need extra help. And the question here is, does your plan provide them extra help? Number 2, have you identified a future care provider? So if something happens to you, then who next? And in addition to that, for many of us, if something happens, most of the funds or monies that we leave for those that we love are in life insurance and retirement accounts. And so question 3 is, have you made sure to include your dependent with special needs since they need extra help? So it would seem that the way to ace the exam or get all 3 questions correct is to be able to answer yes to each of the 3 questions. But what's interesting is when the big red caboose called special needs gets attached to your train, actually, surprise, the answers all change, and answering yes to any of the 3 questions can speak to the need for additional planning. So yeses that seem to be the right answer, and isn't it great? I can answer yes to all 3 questions. Having a child with special needs flips the script. And as a result of that, actually answering yes means there are problems in the present and in the future. We'll take a look at things from a legal and a financial perspective this evening, and we'll start on the legal side. There are some estate planning documents that are helpful for people to obtain. That can include a last will and testament, a trust, such as a special needs trust for your loved one with special needs. Also legal issues like guardianship, conservatorship, guardian ad litem, which is usually an advocate that the court appoints for the individual for whom guardianship is being sought. Social Security, which can be SSI, supplemental security income, as well as SSDI, which is Social Security disability insurance. So there are different Social Security benefits. There's different forms of Medicaid. In fact, in the state of Indiana, there are roughly 20 types of Medicaid. So Medicaid can be a complicated topic. And then also Medicaid waivers. Okay. So if we start off with wills, so people often wonder, why do I need a will? I don't have that much, that type of thing. Everyone's situation is different, but a will does several things. Number 1, it's you providing for and leaving guidance for your loved ones. Having a will spells out how you see things, who you want to be in charge, who you want to get your stuff, and who you want to put in charge of your children. So who gets the kids, who gets your stuff, and who's in charge. The who's in charge is usually named the executor. Who's in charge of child or children can be guardian, that type of thing. All right. Trusts, on the other hand, typically outlast wills. Wills are a snapshot. A will speaks to how you see things at the time of your death, whereas a trust is something that can last for decades. So again, a will is like a still photo. It's like, boom, take a picture. This is the way things are at the time of my death, the way that I see them, who receives inheritances, who doesn't, etc. Whereas with a trust, you can be gone for a long time. And how you funded the trust enables the trust to still be in place and be helpful to family. So trusts serve a very useful role in planning anyway. And when you add the element of special needs to it, then trusts become critically important. The role of the trustee is the person that you put in charge of the trust. So that's an important role to consider. So let's come back and try to start answering some of the questions that were posed earlier. The first question was, have you left more than $2,000 to your dependent with special needs in your will or trust or whatever your estate plan is? And the benefit to the special needs community is that if you leave anything over $2,000, in most states, to a person with a disability, they automatically lose eligibility for most government benefits. So we have to watch this carefully. Indiana is no exception. There is a $2,000 resource limit in the state of Indiana, and this resource limit is applied to eligibility for a child basically under the age of 18 or 18 and over. So pretty much any of our children that might pursue getting benefits, and we'll be going over these benefits here in a moment, but they typically include Social Security, usually in the form of SSI or Supplemental Security Income. And then it's what family or close friends can provide to augment or supplement what Social Security is providing or paying for. So the $2,000 resource limit, really important. If you go north of that, then your child with special needs loses eligibility for SSI, Social Security, and also Medicaid, and by extension, Medicaid waiver services. So the $2,000 resource limit is serious business. So let's start off with SSI, speaking of Social Security. And you may know that it's a non-medical federal income supplement program funded by general tax revenues, not Social Security Trust Fund. So that's good to know. The quality care that is provided doesn't drain off resources from the from the other benefits, etc. The SSI benefit is designed for older people that do not qualify for Social Security retirement, and as well as individuals with disabilities. So the significance of applying for SSI at age 18 is that a parent's assets and income, or the household assets and income, are no longer a factor in determining their eligibility. The disability has got to be something that sticks around. It can't be short-lived. And the SSI benefit provides cash to meet basic needs for food and shelter. Then 2023, our current year, the SSI maximum benefit amount went up to $914, biggest jump we've seen in a long time. That's because, of course, all the inflation that we here talked about all the time. So now the maximum benefit for the balance of this year is $914 a month, and a lot of people are receiving that, and it's tax-free. So this benefit has really gotten rich. No longer is it, $300 or $400 a month. We're talking close to $1,000 a month, and it's, again, tax-free. So pretty amazing. And that's the income that comes with a child with special needs if they qualify for the SSI or Supplemental Security Income benefit. Okay, just a little more on SSI. At age 18, that's the age at which most apply for the monthly stipend for food and shelter. So usually at age 18, the first $20 of monthly income of any type, say a part-time job or something, is typically does not have an effect upon one's SSI. When there is income that affects the SSI, there's a loss of $1 of SSI for every $2 earned. So one is nearly always financially ahead to work. So as our young population with special needs look to potentially get a job, there are a lot of incentives that come with it. I do want to mention the student earned income exclusion there. The student earned income exclusion provides that if one opens a 529 college choice account, well, let's say you open a college account, not sure the funds are going to be used for college. There is an option of transferring 529 funds over to an ABLE account. In the meantime, though, if they do get a part-time job, then if they're still a student and they're under the age of 22, as noted here in the third bullet point, there is an exclusion. So this means that while they're under 22, as long as you've got some schooling going on, that the income that they're receiving for that employment does not adversely affect their SSI benefit amount. So that's pretty powerful. It breaks down to basically $8,950, almost $9,000 divided by 12 is about $750 a month. So there's a good amount of income they can earn, again, without an adverse effect on their SSI benefit. Again, this assumes that they're under 22 and firmly ensconced in the Social Security benefit that they're receiving. So the student earned income exclusion is one thing to be aware of. And another is the fact that there are now ABLE accounts, which are an opportunity to save and accumulate as well. So we have many more options than we did 24 years ago when I started my special needs focus. Things have improved dramatically. Child support is a sticky wicket. Child support is considered income and not earned income. So if child support is being paid or you expect it to continue being paid into their adulthood, we may want to consider doing some special planning to avoid the child support causing a dollar for dollar reduction on the SSI. So with earned income, it's $2 earned for a $1 reduction on the SSI benefit. With child support, it's not considered earned income, but regular income and income that's not earned income is subject to the exclusion of the first $8,950. But if they're no longer a student, then they do not get the exclusion. So, but nevertheless, some special planning can be done that will enable the child support to continue on beyond age 18 and not be paid in such a way to undermine continued eligibility for other government benefits and services. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's move on from Social Security to Medicaid. I should mention to you one last thing about Social Security, and that is many of our children with special needs are only on SSI for some number of years. In most cases, when a parent has a triggering event, which is death, disability, or retirement, then they have the ability to either draw off of their own record or ultimately draw off of a parent's record. So Social Security may start out at 914, but before it's over with, they may be drawing $2,000 a month or more. So the Social Security benefit is really quite helpful with expenses, et cetera. And so we help families plan so that the child support does not undermine the financial security of the family, doesn't create unnecessary taxes, et cetera. In the state of Indiana, we have several waiver programs. The lines are starting to get a little blurred between the two distribution systems, which are the area agencies on aging or the Autism Society of Indiana's state headquarters. So we've got we've got different organizations supporting the special needs community, etc. So a great first step with getting resources or help for your child with special needs may start with pursuing the Family Supports Waiver. So it's been known by several different names over the last 10 years, but currently it is the it is the program that provides services for children above and beyond health insurance. So the current name for the waiver that most people pursue is the Family Supports Waiver. If there's significant medical infirmity, then the aged and disabled waiver may be an option. Different waivers have different budget amounts and also different waiting periods. So it is helpful to apply for more than one waiver if that seems appropriate. And in some cases, there are waits, but the waits are not too terribly long. The Family Supports Waiver has a wait of about 2 months, or excuse me, 2 years. The aged and disabled waiver has very little wait at all. So it's a matter of evaluating where we get traction, what benefit we want to go after, and then what preparation is needed for that. Okay. So we've talked about the importance of government benefits, including Social Security and Medicaid and waivers and so forth. So at the same time, we want our child or dependent with special needs to have resources of their own. These resources usually are inside a properly established special needs trust. So, so it's important to be aware of, what assets are in place and how those assets will flow down. If your child with special needs were to inherit, then once their inheritance exceeds $2,000, they could be at risk of losing very valuable government benefits. So the most popular option for making a provision for your loved one with special needs is to set up a special needs trust. And again, we have a network of attorneys throughout Indiana and Kentucky that will assist families in establishing a special needs trust. And then the family makes gifts to the special needs trust. Grandparents, great aunts, uncles, whomever can get in on it, that type of thing. All of their help is welcome. And so, so special needs trusts create kind of a community melting pot for the loved one with special needs. And people can be generous once, twice, or 3 times. It is a tremendous opportunity to provide for our loved ones. The Special Needs Trust largely came about as a result of OBRA, the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1993. So we've had Special Needs Trust now for about 30 years, and they've really caught on. It's you might call it a gift from gift from God to have the option of setting funds aside to be used for their care and to uphold their quality of life. There are several types of special needs trusts. As you can see here on the slide, there is the third-party special needs trust, and that is the trust that is used most frequently. Third party means it's has its own tax ID number, when appropriate, files its own income tax return and so forth. But it's a great help. The first party special needs trusts is a type of trust that one can put in place, and your child or dependent with special needs with specialty equipment can possibly drive the truck or car. So, so employment of our people with special needs is kind of a new thing. We did not see a lot of children with special needs in the workplace 25 years ago, but we see a lot of it now. And employers are looking to gobble up our special needs population and get them employed, etc. So at this time, it would appear you have a bit of a chance to pick and choose who you want to consider. These different special needs trusts do different things. So third party, one you see toward the top, is the Bellwether Special Needs Trust that is used by anyone that wants to make a provision for their adult child or young child with special needs, and they know that it would be a hardship if they did not plan correctly this type of thing. So we're very fortunate to have a network of about 10 highly trained special needs attorneys, and they can assist with document prep, putting together Secure Act paperwork, that type of thing, to get the trust up and going, and then we can set up a trust. Then we're able to set up a trust account for the funds that are flowing in. So, at any rate, third-party special needs trust is very, very popular. There's no Medicaid payback with a third-party trust. What goes in there is either spent on your child with a disability, or it catches up with other family members when something happens to them. First-party trust is a trust that's funded with the disabled individual's own money. So we have to be careful about that because of the resource limit. Further down, you've got the Miller Trust, you've got the Pooled Art Trust. You can see that there's different types of special needs trust to fit different situations, and we work with all of these to help families. Okay. So special needs trusts have become a mainstay in special needs planning. And next, we're moving on to something called the ABLE account or ABLE accounts. And legislation was only passed about 8 years ago, and the ABLE Act or ABLE accounts, standing for Achieving a Better Life Experience, is a tremendous benefit to the special needs community. It gives you the opportunity to set aside funds and build for a larger distribution. It grows tax-free. It distributes tax-free. So there are a lot of tax advantages with an ABLE Act account. These can be handled right here in Indiana. To put a plug in for Indiana's ABLE Act accounts, with them, as of next year, 2024, I'm sure that you will get an invite to look at setting up an ABLE account if your child is eligible. So ABLE accounts came about as a result of legislation patterned after the 529 account legislation. And in many cases, our children with special needs may not be college bound. And it is particularly helpful to be able to have an account that is tax-free. That is, it grows tax-free, it distributes tax-free, and it can be used for just a myriad of things. So if you have a 529 and the beneficiary of the 529 is your child with special needs, we may want to explore transferring the 529 over to an ABLE account, because the things that you can spend the funds on are so much broader and inclusive. So that's something to consider. Let's see here. Oh, I should mention that there is going to be a tax credit as of next year on ABLE accounts. So that is a partial credit back to Indiana taxpayers for participating in the Invest ABLE account, putting funds in the account. One can deduct funds. Actually, you're taking a credit. The credit is 20% of what is deposited into the ABLE account based on the first. Let's see here, based on the first $2,500. So at $2,500 contribution, then at 20% of that, the tax credit for the Indiana tax return is $500. So one can really save money on putting funds into the ABLE account. I think the credit maximizes at 50 or at 100. Let's see, the credit Now, 20% on the first 2,500, so 20% on 2,500, which is $500. So on the first 2,500, there's going to be a credit. Yeah. Now, as far as able account balances are concerned, you want to keep it under 100,000 if possible, because at 100,000 they lose eligibility for their SSI, and you will have worked too hard to get it to lose it. With able accounts, there is a Medicaid payback, so the potential exists that if something happens to the beneficiary, that it's possible to just possible to use the account during the life of the account holder, but when something does happen to the consumer or the adult child with special needs, the potential exists for the state to take what's left in the account. And that's because their funds are welcome in the able account, and typically anywhere the individual with special needs money can go, there are going to be strings attached to it, and such is the case with able accounts. So again, this would be if you have an able account, and while you maintain the able account, your loved one is on disability, Medicaid, waiver services, etc. If something happens to him, they assess how much the cost has been, the cost for care, and they seek to know if there's anything available to assist with that cost. And a trust that still has funds in it, of course, is fair game. So we certainly don't try to run through these trusts, but you would not want to sit back and hold the funds and not put them to work for your loved one, with special needs. So, oh well. Moving on, the next topic is guardianship. And guardianship in the state of Indiana is not a long, drawn-out, difficult process. There's full guardianship and partial. Full usually means guardian of their physical being and their health. And then full guardianship is when a person goes to court to obtain guardianship for both the individual person, but also their resources, income, or assets. If a young person has capacity, the same attorney that would otherwise would have gone to court to obtain guardianship can assist you in having your loved one execute a durable power of attorney, a healthcare form, and then supported decision-making. So if they have capacity, then an attorney can assist with drafting these documents, and then your loved one can affix their signature to the document and make it official. All right. So a few minutes ago, we were talking about the $2,000 limit, and that was the issue with question number 1. Number 2 is, have you identified a future caregiver provider? Identifying someone to help take care of your loved one with special needs if something happens to you is huge. It is a stumbling block for some families. That is the who. Who's going to do what? So I think it's important to make careful selections, and in addition to that, if possible, to provide that brave individual with what we call letter of intent. And the letter of intent is going to include most everything about the child with special needs. So it's a tremendous opportunity to record data in one place, and we have a template to help with that. So very important. All right. Then next we have, if your dependent with special needs is listed as a beneficiary, back there, earlier we'd said, had you left them off? Well, it's not that including them or leaving them off is necessarily a bad thing, but a better situation would be where an individual were to transfer their retirement funds into a situation where they transfer their retirement funds into a special needs trust to provide for the future, and then they had an owner's manual, like a letter of intent with a caregiver guide. You could end up with government benefits, a funded trust, in essence, a caregiver guide or an owner's manual. In other words, it is possible to prepare in such a way that if something happens to the parent or caregiver, that the family that is left, to provide care and step up and assume guardianship, et cetera, can be taking over, a well thought out plan or situation, as opposed to one that's in disarray. So we're very passionate about working with families to put plans in place that will enable family to transition into the role of caregiver or potentially guardian on a very smooth basis. Otherwise, with no planning in place, Medicaid can be lost, along with it waiver services, possibly Social Security at risk. The person stepping up may just not be familiar with all of this, both the language, the abbreviations, the acronyms, having a 529, or excuse me, having a IEP meeting at the school. There's just all kinds of things that parents of children with special needs become very accustomed to, but a family member stepping in that has not had that journey can certainly be overwhelmed, especially in the early weeks and months. So we work with families to create a caregiver guide. We call it the letter of intent, and it looks like, let's see here. There we go. Looks like that. Our letter of intent for our loved one, and it's loaded with information that'll be so helpful to a future caregiver. We have it in paper. We also have it as a fillable Word document, but it's very thorough. And parents, we introduce them to this and try to be thoughtful and patient and taking time to help families put this document together. But as a fillable Word document, you of course can email it, you can electronically store it, this type of thing. Some families review it once a year to update the information kept in it. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is just a list of some of the options for funding a special needs trust, meaning where the funds can come from. Property can be owned by a special needs trust. If you're intent upon a home being retained and not sold, then it is possible for the special needs trust to own the house. You've got investments, so investment accounts and retirement accounts. Retirement funds like the 401k and Simples and SEPs and so forth. Life insurance, GoFundMe account, friends and family, and settlements. So there are lots of opportunities to find individuals, that would be able to pull together funds to put into the trust. So as you can see, regardless of one's circumstances, most everyone would have some parts of this, if not all of them, at least parts of them. And then we orchestrate both the creation of the special needs trust and then arranging for these various elements to end up transferring into the special needs trust, so that as the parents fade or pass away, that we again have a well-funded plan to meet the needs and hopefully a good part of the wants for their child with special needs. Okay, so how can life insurance benefit? Life insurance, of course, creates dollars upon our death. And it is upon our death that, of course, we most are concerned about the trust being funded, the special needs trust we just talked about. So benefits include the fact that life insurance is usually free of probate and estate taxes. It can create an estate where none exists, meaning, the parent's like, well, a special needs trust is all well and good, but I don't have anything to leave to it or give to it. So with life insurance in place and the trust listed as the beneficiary on the life insurance, it's possible that something happens that life insurance proceeds can be the key to funding the trust. Leaves the existing estate intact for other family members. The point we're making there is you may have a child with special needs, but you may have other children that don't have special needs. You want to provide for all of them, and you certainly want the siblings of your child with special needs to feel good about the situation, that they were not disenfranchised or treated as second-class citizens. So through life insurance, you can see that the loved one with special needs is provided for, and that needs or or wants that other family members have can be addressed as well. It can be budgeted to meet income needs. Certain types of policies provide guarantees and can help meet the financial needs for lifetime care and quality of life issues for your dependent. Sometimes a well-funded trust, and again, life insurance can help, will make the difference between care being provided in a supportive living, Medicaid-funded opportunity or something that's private pay and perhaps more attractive. So question number 3 is, your dependent with special needs, are they listed as the beneficiary in life insurance or retirement accounts? And the reality is if your child with special needs is listed, even if they're listed right along with their brothers and sisters, it's a problem because those funds received as a result of being listed as a beneficiary will count against the $2,000 resource limit that we reviewed earlier. So it's important not to accumulate assets in the name of or associated with the Social Security number of your loved one with special needs. And the Special Needs Trust can be a way to accumulate assets or resources or add to them at the time of a parent's passing. There is a special type of life insurance that I'll mention here. And we do a good deal of work with this type of life insurance. It's called survivorship life. And when we have a 2-parent situation, it can insure both parents together under a single coverage and provide a trust funding benefit upon the death of the second parent. So it's a very cost-effective way to provide tax-free dollars to ensure the Special Needs Trust gets funded. So we, again, work with that quite a bit. How to start the planning process? Well, the key is to have a collaborative team. And usually the team is made up of a special needs attorney and a special needs financial planner like me. So that's why we have partnered with and associated with special needs attorneys throughout Indiana. We have attorneys in Fort Wayne, Lafayette, 2 in Indianapolis, New Albany, Evansville, Lawrenceburg, you name it. So pretty much wherever a family is at, we're able to help them get connected with, a special needs attorney and with the work that we do. So it's a collaborative effort to help families get to the finish line. And we're certainly pleased to do it. Okay, so in summary, the key is to find quality professionals to assist you and your family. You're the best advocate for your loved one with special needs. And of course, it's all about their quality of life. As a result of participating in the workshop, I'm pleased to extend to you a free follow-up consultation. Costs you absolutely nothing. And through that, we can ascertain where you're at in the special needs journey and what may be some appropriate next steps for you. And then let's see here. That's my information. That's the Indianapolis office, as you can see there on 96th Street. And then the Louisville office for individuals that may be in Southern Indiana. It's just across the river on the East Bridge, crossing the East Bridge. And so I'm in the Louisville office usually 4 or 5 days a month. So we meet with families regularly down there and the balance of the time here in Indianapolis. Well, that I did mention earlier, but as a result of participating, we're pleased to provide a free follow-up consultation. You also have my contact information there. There's a toll-free number at the top. There's an email address below. There's a website as well. So lots of ways to get in touch with us. But again, I look forward to meeting many of you, either in person or virtually. I want to thank Lighthouse for hosting and helping make it possible to bring this important information to you. If your child is not on a Medicaid waiver, we can help you. We'll help you make contact with the appropriate BEADS office, the Bureau of Developmental Disability Services. We'll help get you an application so that we can start filling that out and get the process rolling toward their being accepted on the Family Supports Medicaid waiver. And if you need help with working with Social Security in regards to SSI, we're happy to do that as well. For some families, that's not until the child is 18, and I suspect many of you have children much younger than that on this workshop. But at all ages at the continuum, we assist families in moving, from one step or plateau to another, maximizing on benefit opportunities and doing an excellent job of planning for the future. With that, I'm going to back out of the PowerPoint and see if anyone has questions in the few minutes we have left. We have about 5 minutes left, and I'd be happy to take any questions. Let's see here. Okay, I think if you have a question, you can either unmute and speak up, or if unmuting is not an option, there is a chat box right up here at the top. Okay, does anyone have any questions? All right, as a follow-up to this workshop, you will receive a thank you email from Jamie Sturkey, our parent advocate and relationship coordinator. And Jamie will be the one to extend to you the opportunity for a free follow-up consultation. So I encourage you to respond when you hear from Jamie, and hope to meet with many of you individually going forward in the coming days. With that, I want to yield back to Allison, our wonderful host from Lighthouse, and thanks very much, Allison, for Lighthouse hosting this evening's workshop. And again, I do hope to meet with many people individually in the coming days. So thanks again, and back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a lot of really great information. I'm really looking forward to sharing this recording with the families that weren't able to attend, because I think this is going to be really helpful for them. So again, thank you so much for all this great information and for your time today.
Well, you're welcome. We'll talk with everybody soon. Have a good and a safe evening. Good night.
Thank you. You as well. Bye.